Hello everybody, welcome back to another video game analysis. And today we haven't done a character analysis in quite a bit, so we're going to talk about the not so legendary, but getting there, franchise of Okami. The Okami series is growing pretty well. The HD remake brought a few eyes to the game. Great game. I love it. And today I want to focus on a character that I don't feel gets a lot of attention. I mean, guy on the side, But I mean, it's weird because he's always in front view, but he doesn't get much attention. At least none that I've seen. So, as a fan myself, today we are going to analyze the character of Issun. Now, before we get into Issun, let's try to discuss a little more about the story of Okami, without any spoilers, of course. The game takes place in ancient Japan of a mythological setting. Okami, the title, is named after Okami Amaterasu, which is the rebirth of Shiranui, who was the great god who took the form of a wolf. It was Shiranui and the great hero Nagi who banded together with that sword to defeat that monster with the 8 heads, Orochi. Now, Orochi, it's just basically a big legend of how the world of Okami is formed. How the whole setting had its initial story of origin. And now in this game, it takes place of 100 years later, where it became a fairy tale, and out of people's minds, people have lost their faith, and Orochi returns because this guy, that we don't know who it is at the moment, took the sword so he can use it for the powers for himself. And when he released Orochi, the world went into darkness like it did 100 years ago. So with that, Shiranui was reborn. This statue, next to the sacred trees, which control the spirits of every part of the land, in the Okami setting, that is what the game's about. It's about blooming all these trees back to life, so the spirits can return. And it's about this is Sakuya. She is the one that guards the spirits of the land. She is the one that keeps the sacred tree. She's the one that basically begins the story by bringing back the great goddess Okami Amaterasu. And if it wasn't for her, the game within the universe, the game wouldn't be able to start either, because a small village of Kamiki was the one that was protected by her with the rest of her power that was suppressed by Orochi. With that, Amaterasu was reincarnated from the statue, honoring the last god. This is our protagonist of the game, whose tail acts as what is called the celestial brush, which is a very interesting gameplay mechanic that makes the game very interesting. What it does is you can manipulate the world with 13 brush techniques. These brush techniques are how you get through the game and how you platform your way to battles and how you progress in the story. Lots of stuff you can do with that. And with that, the reawakening of Amaterasu, the story begins. Amaterasu must save all of the land from Orochi. And of course, she didn't do it alone. There was one certain person, a wandering artist, there to help. And that's a character I was always very interested, being both the voice of Amaterasu, whether she likes it or not, or being the tutorial or great help to the great goddess of the sun. I'm going to continue the that little clip in a bit, but I just want to point out In all of this, of all what you've seen in that video and my commentary over it, what does where does someone like I know you don't know much about him yet, but keep the question in your mind: where does Issun fit into all this before you see him? Because this is just what does he have to do with any of this really? Where does he come to play? And really, in all reality, he just showed up. He said, "You know what? I feel like doing this. It's really for me." But you know what? We'll see what happens as the journey continues with Issun. And he is truly what you'd call a character. He lives, he grows, and let's talk about that. Alright, let's continue right where we left off, because after all of that tension, all of that moments of dread, what is this interruption at this point? What is wrong with Sakuya? This. Oh, my, what a dirty thing to do. What is that? A bug? That is the focus of this video. That little thing is what I want to talk about. That is a character I want to analyze. And despite all the times he's been called a bug, and that really ticks him off, he is not a bug. He is wandering artist Issun. Issun's origin is very interesting, and Issun becomes a really vital character in the story. Basically, you can think of it as the Navi of this game, except that in this game, he's a little more useful than Navi, and he acts as more than just a bestiary. He's a painter, as far as we know. We don't know much about Issun. He literally just pops out of nowhere, or Sakuya's breasts, and he just pushes his way in. He's rude, he's sarcastic, and in a strange, and it's so interesting to see a character like him. I always like characters like him. Characters like him are known as, well, I don't know the exact name. Basically, when you have a setting like this, like ancient Japan, especially in a mythological setting, you need something to relate to in order to understand the surroundings. That is Issun. That's why I love this character. He is you can talk to him in a modern day language and understand everything that's going on. He acts as a nice comic relief as well. Issun, always cocky despite his size, clearly has a Napoleon complex, is a character that knows his stuff too, despite being so rude, sarcastic, and so in your face about these things. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what goes on. He knows the land because he's a wandering artist. He comes from a tribe of people, without spoiling anything, I'm trying my best to not spoil anything. He comes from a tribe of people where he was going to be a server of the gods, but he refused his place in the world and became a wandering artist instead. And to show people he wanted to master the 13 brush techniques, as he's trying right now. That is not me, that is Issun, but it didn't work for him. He has to, and that's really his motivation for staying with Amaterasu. But he finds throughout the adventure, he does get more emotionally connected to Amaterasu, and slowly he starts to see himself, and he starts to really learn more. Despite it being such a wandering artist this whole time, this adventure is what changes his life. So now that you know a little more about him, the question continues: where does Issun play as a whole role of this game? What does he accomplish? I mean, he just forced his way in there, and it's like, what do you have to bring to the table? What are you capable of? How do you fit into the game? And the answer is quite clear the more you play the game. He is your companion, whether you like it or not. And outside the gaming world, I think everyone can agree he's a likable, fun character, even during times of dread. And the overall experience with Issun is You may want to strangle him sometimes, but he's your buddy. And that's something even a great goddess like Amaterasu learned throughout the adventure. And you know, it just shows that throughout the game with Issun is we're all human. You know, he's a good reminder of that. There is different spectrums of a person. You can be like Sakuya, who a noble person, a person of great power and wisdom, or you can be like Issun, someone who rebelled, who needs to learn the hard way, who has to even though he started an adventure selfishly, he has to go through this whole adventure and really become a new person. Really look at his life and ask all the tough questions. And you know what? It's a nice side B story to what's going on in Okami that I think we can all enjoy. After all, Issun throughout the game has a lot of uses, not only for the player, but for the game's universe within itself. And let's look into that. So yes, Issun is a relatable, modern-esque character. He clearly is someone that doesn't belong, and that's what we like about him, and that's what makes him a good voice for Amaterasu. I mean, sure, I'm sure. I mean, sure, she probably doesn't like it when he answers for her, but most of the time they are pretty in sync, and he points Amaterasu to the right direction. Even when he doesn't know what to do, he does his best to help. At first, it was all just so he can learn the celestial brush techniques, as he'll explain in the video at this point. He's amazed at the brushwork that Okami can do, and that's when he starts to believe as Amaterasu is a goddess, and he is one of the first to be reawakened in his faith, as this whole, and basically, Issun is a character that evolves and changes throughout the story. Even though Amaterasu is the main leader, he is the character that at least me personally, have always seen evolve and grow, and no matter what happens, we always get upset if something bad would happen to Isu. There are other characters, of course all the characters grow and learn in this story, but Isun's the one we see the most. Issun is the person who gives us tutorial, who gives us explanation, who gives us focus sometimes. It's really quite incredible. Like right here, I'm trying to leave when I have a mandatory objective going on. He's stopping me and telling him, "Hey, what are you doing? We have to, we're doing something. You can't just leave right now." And that's logic. And the fact that he cares, even though he's just doing this for the brush techniques, pretty impressive. You can see him in yellow pointing out all the places that might interest Amaterasu too. Like, he would actually help me here. Well, you know what I mean. He actually, not necessarily, but in the game world, he actually helped him find one of these canines that Amaterasu needed to find in order to get into a dungeon. Issun's just there. He barged his way in, but he learned to become a vital member of the team, and he started to get accepted more and more. He's even in the loading screen. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. It's always fun. I've been Billy, your video game analyzer, and I urge you to try out the Okami franchise. It's a lot of fun. There's 2 games in the series. We have Okami and Okami Den. Okami Den is also a very fun game on the DS, because there's many ways to play it too. You can play it on your PS2, you can play it on your Wii, or you can get the HD version for the PS3. Which, please, please Capcom, please put it on the Wii U, the HD remake. Please, come on. It's so perfect. It's just so, it worked. But I digress. Next time, we're going to do a theory analysis on a theory of my own, actually. We're going to analyze my theory on the manifestation of Wario and Waluigi. Can't wait to do it, and I'll see you next time.